Welcome to the Cumulocity and Teleena Building and Operating Zero-Touch IoT Solutions webinar. I'm Philip Hooker, Director of Strategic Programs at Cumulocity, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Rob Schneider, from the Chief Product Officer for IoT at Teleena. With most global economies now engaging in using the Internet of Things to reduce costs, improve revenues, and increase customer satisfaction, an increasing number of organizations are finding that something that initially looks easy can turn out to be difficult, complex, and costly to develop and maintain. Assembling an IoT solution, it seems, could be one of these things that appears deceptively simple to start with recent evidence indicating that it can be a lot harder than it looks in reality. Cumulocity and Teleena believe that the creation of IoT solutions should be simple and the management of them should be highly automated so organizations can focus on what matters most, their customers. So to start, I'd like to provide a brief introduction to Cumulocity. So Cumulocity was born in an innovation initiative inside Nokia, which actually focused on making carrier-grade network management systems applicable to the requirements and economics of the evolving machine-to-machine market, and before that, the telemetry market. The organization grew rapidly through its successes and won numerous industry awards before being spun off, but still backed, in Nokia's 2012 reorganization. Today, Cumulocity serves over 100 enterprise customers using over 1,000 tenants and supports over 3,000 developers around the world. As previously mentioned, Cumulocity strives to remove the complexity and cost from IoT and allow the benefits to be exploited rapidly, comprehensively, and securely by all organizations. We offer a fully featured Internet of Things platform product, which covers 80 to 90% of the requirements of most customers out of the box. The remaining 10 to 20% can easily be developed using our open APIs, plugins, and application integration. Our IoT platform is inherently carrier-grade for security, reliability, and availability, and is both device and network agnostic. It can be deployed across 20 global cloud hubs on 5 continents, and more coming up in the very near future, or on-premise in the customer site, or as a multi-layered hybrid. At Cumulocity, we feel that the Internet of Things is all about partners, and Cumulocity is continuously leveraging and building out its leading partner network, as you can probably notice by the change of this slide from the previous slide from the last webinar. As a horizontal platform provider, we are involved in many vertical markets and continuously bring in the ingenious, innovative approaches in one market to the other markets we're working in. Our IoT platform is white labeled by many partners around the world. We have the devices from many manufacturers pre-integrated and open source agents for the most common device platforms. Our breadth of network, application, systems integrator, and independent software vendor partnerships helps us solve the customer's common problem, enterprise digitalization. I'd like to now hand over to Rob to introduce Teleena.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Rob Schneider and I'm the Chief Product Officer at Teleena. I'll tell you a little bit about our company and what we are trying to put together in the IoT space. To go to the next slide. So Teleena is a Dutch headquartered company, about 10 years in business, still privately owned with a quite significant stake by Tata Communications in the company. We own and operate a full enablement service platform with all carrier-grade components that make up essentially a full mobile core network and a whole suite of IoT-related application solutions, including the Cumulocity platform from Cumulocity. We're about 80 people. Most people are rather technical in DevOps kind of roles. And one of the things which is quite unique about us, we believe, is that we provide everything, the end-to-end solutions, as a completely managed service. Next slide. So in our about 10 years in business, we've assembled quite an interesting and a very global customer base with quite well-known names. So Huawei in China is a customer of ours, IIJ in Japan, Transavia and KLM, two airlines based out of Holland. We do quite a lot of work with M4 Vodafone in different parts of the group. And also a major bank is a customer of ours. So quite a global footprint and quite a diverse set of solutions that we have built on the base of this carrier-grade platform. Next slide. So our aim is really to take as much of the complexity away from our customers and really help them build very innovative but also very reliable solutions that require from connectivity to all the application enablement, managing data, managing devices, and really make sure that this whole thing is run in an economic and reliable fashion. For that, we have a whole suite of components that make that all possible. I'll show you on the next slide. So at Teleena, we have put together a number of different components that make up what we call our IoT suite. There are four main components in this suite. Obviously, today we'll be spending a lot of time discussing what we do with what we call Insight, which is powered by Cumulocity. I will also be showing you a little bit of how we use an engine that we call Grail, that allows us to do very rapid integration, one of those tiny bits that is not directly covered by the Cumulocity platform. We also have an engine that allows us to do all kinds of billing scenarios for the service economy, which we believe is one of the things which is really powered by a lot of the scenarios we support with IoT. And lastly, this blue ring around everything is a very broad and generic connectivity management platform that allows us to connect all kinds of networks, different network types, but also different providers, and manage all of that on a single platform. That's what we call IoT Connect. Next slide.
Great, thank you, Rob. So, what is what is driving the usage of IoT? And also, maybe more importantly, what unforeseen challenges often occur in creating these IoT solutions? So, we've seen that the Internet of Things is adopted by organizations across every industry sector for a whole variety of use cases, including some of the kind of indicators here. So, building management to optimize operations and energy usage, traffic management, which will allow a holistic and proactive approach to be taken for traffic flow. Vehicle telematics is one of the common ones that's been out for some considerable time, but now providing emergency notifications, insurance, categorization, and theft reduction. And what's now becoming perhaps one of the growing areas is looking at the low power technologies that change the economies of scale. So including use cases such as structural monitoring that ensure a cost-efficient preventative maintenance to be conducted on large structural projects. The demands on IoT in each of these use cases can be grouped into one or many of these four main areas. So understanding the customer situation and striving for customer delight. Delivering the service as close to 100% availability as possible so the customer can be reassured of its availability. Reducing both the providers and customers' operating costs by only using resources which are necessary when necessary. And also allowing the providers to adopt new innovative business models to create offers which best fit the customer's needs. So the classic here is actually moving from a product-based business into a service-based business. So along with a vast array of benefits, the implementation of IoT creates some difficulties for organizations, which would actually lead on to our discussion about zero-touch IoT solutions. One of these relates to the organization's view of the customer in the classic customer centricity model. The customer commonly interacts with both the various IoT-enabled machines and equipment managed by the field service staff, and also interacts with and through the numerous IT systems and processes managed by business and IT staff. This can often create a situation where the customer themselves is the only person with a full view of the organization's products and services. This is often due to the different technical architectures and protocols between the machines and IT systems, limiting the responsiveness and depth of data shared between the two, and also the different points of views of the field service staff and the business staff, which complicate the vision and the execution of any organizational changes. Now, focusing on the technical domains itself, just to sort of simplify very quickly. The interaction generally relates to measurement data, events, alarms being shared from the machines and the equipment assets back to the IT systems. And the actuator levels and configuration changes then being sent to the machines and equipment by the IT systems to optimize and change the performance. These two domains are the classic domains at either end of the spectrum for zero-touch solutions, and often referred to as the operational technology and information technology domains. So when starting to assess the situation to interconnect these two domains, a number of complications become evident. As indicated here under operational technology, generally there are multiple sites with different versions of machine operating in slightly different manners. So the data sets within those machines are different and the operation is slightly different. Also within the information technology domain, with the more regionalized protection of data, there's a necessity for organizations to geographically disperse the IT infrastructure to satisfy those data policy demands. IoT solutions developed between these two domains often create a facade of progress, whilst in reality, other long-term issues are being created. So the necessity to actually secure the data in a reliable manner is ever present. Building and operating a solution that complies with organizational and regulatory security policies and those evolving security policies is necessary. Ensuring the data is actually available from the devices to be moved into the IT system is essential. Managing upgrades in the connectivity, but also the asset itself for changes of behavior, for changes of region are unnecessary and cause complications. Overall, minimizing the cost of the integration between the two, both for the systems infrastructure, but also the team, is essential. Enabling new features and critical repairs to be deployed as soon as possible, and allowing the solution to scale to millions of devices and thousands of customers across many continents is essential. So these are all classical IoT problems which are aided. So what is an IoT solution and how can it help in this scenario? IoT solutions essentially bridge the gap or become the Velcro between the operational technology and information technology domains. A vast range of pre-integrated devices and open extensibility to other devices ensures that assets can be connected in a plug-and-play manner. Essentially, these gateways that are connected, either they're pre-integrated to the zero-touch IoT solution or platform, or with just a small configuration, they can be connected. Support for multiple communication technologies allows the best economic fit to be deployed for the use case. For example, for low power WAN for low data volumes. An array of robust device management, analytics, visualization, and billing technologies provides the holistic capabilities to manage the operational assets as needed. Flexible integration and workflow management tools enable the often manual legacy processes across domains to be automated and continuously evolved, which is obviously essential in an evolving business. So essentially, the solution itself provides both the technological Velcro between the two, but also only requires minor software configuration changes to make the IoT solution specific to the customer organization and to evolve it as the customer organization evolves. So when talking about IoT, one also needs to consider how the organization is going to change, because IoT is only one technical component of the overall transformation. So IoT is a significant enabler, that's been said many times, for technology-driven business transformation. With the connected assets providing increased levels of information to be processed, these can alter the processes themselves and finally affect the organization's requirements for the quantity and skills of its employees, which then reflect back to the technology, information, and process. So it's useful to consider a strategic approach to how zero-touch IoT solutions can actually help us. So as you're probably aware, all transformations consider a sequence of gains or outcomes at specific points in the strategy's execution. So here actually detailed kind of short-term, long-term, medium-term, etc. Zero-touch solutions simplify an organization's adoption of IoT in a number of areas, with two being most commonly recognized. The first one is the necessity for the business to maintain its focus on overall business value and ensure that it does not get bogged down with the technical complexities, as often happens if a business focuses too much on technology rather than what its customers demand and where its business is going. Also, for most organizations, there is a risk associated with IoT. Commonly, the risk of being disrupted if nothing is done, and also the risk of costly false starts if the wrong path is taken. So most organizations need to actually balance between the two. And in most situations, taking an evolutionary approach to adopting IoT is the most efficient and the lowest risk. To enable multiple iterations of the service and capability to be evolved and incorporated by those stakeholders. Now, tackling the second benefit first, that of actually the evolution of components. The agile approach is commonly recognized as the most efficient development methodology for situations where the requirements are initially vague and/or likely to be continuously evolving. Adopting an agile iterative approach with numerous plan, evolve, review, and identify cycles allows the key organizational stakeholders to collaboratively form a view of what is required. This also minimizes the difference in the viewpoints as stated earlier. Now, combining multiple agile iterations allows organizations to steadily refine the IoT solution based on its evolving knowledge of how it works in operation and how the organization evolves its demands to use it. Each iteration is focused on adding the necessary capability to boost the value of the IoT solution and its incorporation and use within the business. Now, thinking of the first benefit, so that's of removing or abstracting technology complexities from businesses evolving or digitally transforming. So all solutions start with an asset they want to connect or some sort of additional sensor data. The first stage for organizations in most circumstances on their IoT journey is the remote monitoring of their asset status, which simply requires, in this circumstance, the use of plug-and-play devices, pre-integrated network connectivity, data management from devices, and visualization capabilities. Then a natural extension of this, as indicated here with the differences in orange, is to provide condition monitoring for operations and customers through the use of analytics and device management, so alerts and capabilities and data normalization. Further evolution after data analysis allows preventative maintenance to be delivered and is considered with its considerable improvement for the customer and supplier organizations. Lastly, in this example, the inclusion of billing services allows new billing-orientated, new service-orientated business models to be adopted. So these actually include billing in a different way that the customer organization or supplier organization doesn't currently perform. So easily moving things into a as-a-service model or some other mechanism. Now, going back full circle to this gap we have between the information technology and operational technology areas. In my very quick overview, we've seen that zero-touch IoT solutions avoid most of the complications bridging the operational technology to information technology domains in a very fluid environment most organizations find themselves in during their transformations. With numerous pre-integrated devices and applications, multiple communications networks available, and feature-rich enablement, zero-touch IoT solutions allow organizations to start their IoT journey with confidence, and also allow them to change and transform with just configuration, not heavy detailed integration. So now I'd like to hand over to Rob for the demo.
I'm going to take ownership of the screen and get this to work. So what I would like to do during this demo is take a relatively straightforward scenario and show you some of the steps and building blocks in actually building and deploying a solution that covers that. So and this is a real case. This is not some kind of make-up story. So we've actually had some issues in our own office in Holland, where employees started to complain about headaches, sickness, and these kind of related symptoms, where we had a reasonable suspicion that this might have been caused by too high CO2 levels in the office. So we started to think about how we could systematically monitor and then also report and start to manage the whole environment with the CO2 levels. So we set up a solution using our own platform to see how we could easily do that. And what we've done looks pretty much like what you see on this slide now. So in the left top hand, we see the actual monitoring device, which is a simple device that has 3 different sensors, of which will really be interested in the CO2, but it also happens to measure humidity and temperature. So you get a bit of a feel of the air quality in the office. This device is actually a device connected to the Sigfox network. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with that. But Sigfox is one of the low-power network alternatives, so it actually allows us to put this device anywhere. It runs on a single penlight battery for a couple of years, producing a set of data readings every 15 minutes. So what we will need to do is actually collect this data from the Sigfox network, and because data on the Sigfox network is presented in a rather odd format to make the payload as small as possible. We need to do a little bit of work to make sure we can actually present this data onto the Cumulocity platform in a readable format. So I'll be showing you a little bit with how we do that with what we call our Grail engine, and then we switch to the Cumulocity for showing you how we build dashboards and analyze the information. And then at the end we go back to Grail to show you a little bit how we can add some more analytics capabilities and provide that link to the Office management system. So I'm just going to go back now to the browser. And the first thing I would like to show you is exactly what this device looks like on the Sigfox network. So this is just the connectivity management portal that is part of Sigfox, the Sigfox service. So once you've registered your device and you've registered the device type, really the only thing we need to do, look at this device, there's a device type that we have configured, which we call Teleena CO2, no magic in there. And the only configuration really we had to do after registering the device on the network is define where the Sigfox network would need to send its data. So the only real configuration is actually here. So every time the device produces a data reading, the data is sent just using a simple HTTP post to one of our Grail servers. And as you can see in this HTTP string, there's actually somewhere in there, there's the actual data or the payload of these messages. Now, and that's really what I just need to quickly give you an example of what that payload looks like, so you understand what we'll be doing in Grail in a second. So I'm now going to look at this particular device, which is sitting on my desk in my office, really, and going to have a look at some of the messages it produces. And it's just to show you that the actual message that the device produces looks something like this, and somewhere hidden in that string of data is the CO2, is the temperature, is the humidity, and so we need to do something to actually decode this message into something readable. Now that's something that we're going to do using our Grail engine, and I'm really going to show you how to do that on the fly during this webinar. So as we've seen, the Sigfox network uses an HTTP post to actually send the data to the endpoint that we have defined. So on this Grail engine, we can very quickly create some new logic, some new flows, and connect things up to different components. So the first thing we need to do is really say, okay, there's data coming from an HTTP post message to, as we've defined the URL to be Sigfox, and that's really it. This now will start to listen to those incoming messages, and as soon as a message arrives, it's common practice in HTTP world, basically a small web server saying, right, okay, I got it, send back the 200. Okay, just like a web page would actually acknowledge that they've gotten the message. The only thing is Sigfox actually expects to see a short message saying that this whole exchange was successful. So we do this by actually telling it was a success. Right. So the only thing we need to do now is really wire those three nodes up, and we actually have created a responsive web server, but the only thing it does actually, say back to the Sigfox portal, I got your message, goodbye. So we now need to do something that actually shows us some of the data so we can actually start to interpret it. So the only thing which is slightly ugly, and that's why I prepared it a little bit before the meeting, this is actually the specifications we got from the device manufacturer about how to interpret this silly string of data. And I'll show you what it looks like. It's quite ugly. So this one silly string We need to read through these kind of formulas, which is just basically coded in JavaScript here, but the language doesn't really make much difference. So this is how we get the CO2 data out of this string. This is where we find the temperature, and the same for humidity. But this is just specifications from the vendor. It's not anything particular that we have done. We've just used one of the standard nodes in this environment to create this. So here we need to say, okay, we got the data, go and understand, make it into a readable format. So that's happening in this node, and then one last step that we need to do is actually create a format that Cumulocity can understand, and that really is creating a format which essentially is a JSON object, which contains, again, the CO2 readings, the temperature readings, and the humidity readings as we have decoded in the previous string. With a bit of wizardry, we could have combined these two as well, but then the whole bit of code would start to get quite ugly. So it's better to work with small chunks, reusable chunks, rather than trying to squeeze everything into a single node. So we've now got the data in a format that Cumulocity can understand, what we call it Insight. And the only thing we now need to do is actually relay this data to Insight. And for that, with Teleena, we've created a whole raft of different nodes that can interact very smoothly between this environment and the Cumulocity environment. So in this particular case, we are going to send this data as a measurement. So it's sensor readings that we are sending to Cumulocity. And the only thing we need to do now is deploy this logic, and the whole thing is live on the network. So obviously we've done this a little bit earlier because we only get a few bits and pieces for information in the webinar. It would be a little bit dull. So this device and this flow have been connected for about a week now. So I'm going to show you what...
sorry, Rob, can you just check your connection? So join me in saying the connection may be down.
All right. From what I can see, it's still up. Can you still hear me?
Yep, can still hear you. So you're looking at Grail at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, still at Grail, yeah. But
okay.
Yeah, I've had one or two brief interruptions from going don't know. Well, I think it was best just to keep on going.
Yep.
If I see any further interruption, I'll pause. Yeah. So we're now going to switch to Insight or Cumulocity. So the first thing we're going to do is actually have a look at the device management side. So we're actually going to see where this data is now arriving. So in the device management section or application on the Insight platform, there's a possibility where I can just browse all devices which are registered on the platform. And there's actually quite a few of them on here. So yeah, I could just browse down until I found my Sigfox device, but just a little bit quicker is just to search for it. And here we are. This is exactly that same device with the same name. You see the Sigfox and an ID that's used to register on the Sigfox network. We can have a very quick look at the actual measurements that we are starting to see coming in from this device. Seems to be a little bit slow. But here we can see the different readings, so I'm not sure let's see if we can make it a little bit bigger. You actually see a little bit more. So the green line is the humidity, and the CO2 that we're really most interested in is the one here at the bottom, showing now a reading of 1.461, and currently it is 494. So we have a basic visibility of the device, and it starts to collect data and present this in the Insight platform. And now the second application, that's where most of the actual business logic is created, is called the cockpit. I'm just going to switch there now. So it's part of the Cumulocity platform, but just a different view and a different set of tools to look at the data and to make some sense of it all. We've created an environment where there's quite a few different things happening here, but as part of a smart building setup, we're monitoring something in our Netherlands office. What we are actually monitoring is generated by the Sigfox device. So for this device, for the data that we shown previously, we can create all kind of dashboards with different views of the same information. And these dashboards are really, really easy to create. I first wanted to quickly show you how these things typically look like after a little bit of work, but this is so easy to do. It's just that my own picture is now hiding one of the buttons I need to click. I'm not really sure how I can fix that. Just a second, I need to make it a little bit smaller. Take it here. Now we're good. I'm going to have to keep on going like this, otherwise this button is hidden. So I'm just going to give you a very quick tour of how we can actually create dashboards based on the data that we're collecting from devices. So I'm just going to do a smaller version of the ones we're looking at right now. So I'm going to create the dashboard, which let's call it webinar. And now we see an empty dashboard, obviously. And on this dashboard, we can put a whole bunch of different types of widgets, which are part of the Cumulocity platform. So one of the widgets we were just looking at before is actually a radial gauge, which is just a way to represent the data that we're interested in. And one of the things, or the thing that we were most particularly interested in, was the CO2 data. So the print is a little bit small, but I can actually still read it. This data point is the CO2 data, and the other ones are the temperature, humidity, and something for signal strength as well. So let's call it something more sensible. So now we're looking at the radial gauge representing the current data values of CO2 in our office in Holland, as generated by the Sigfox device. So you see these widgets can be done very, very quickly. It's easily configurable. So I can just add another one which would show me, let's say, the temperature in a linear gauge, just to make sure I'm just not repeating everything you've seen before. It's temperature and pitching. We've got a temperature reading on our dashboard showing 23.8. And in a similar fashion, we can actually reproduce those graphs that we were seeing before. It's really, really easy. The data points graph and add the data points we really want to see. So right here, that's temperature currently, maybe not the most interesting one. Let's just go and have a look at CO2, and I want to be looking at that for last day. So we get a view of what's been happening, or maybe even the last week. We could create two views, one for the last day, like I had on the previous dashboard, and one for the last week. So this is now just the view of the data for the last week, and we can see, and that's actually a thing that I actually took the device into into a small meeting room with too many people in it, and you see immediately what starts to happen to the CO2 levels. That was actually on a Monday morning, and it peaked at almost 5 as a CO2 level. Well, it's actually 5,000 parts per million if you want to be precise. And according to the Dutch health and safety regulations, anything over 5,000 is when people start to lose consciousness. So this was actually quite a critical level, but you can actually see what I've been doing to the device during the week in those kind of meeting rooms, and mostly during the weekend. Obviously, CO2 levels were quite low because there was no one in the office. And as soon as we started to work again on Monday and Tuesday, you see those peaks coming back. So it gives us a very, very fast and quick way to have a view of our data and to do something sensible with its data. So obviously on this webinar, I can only show a couple of very simple, not simple, but very powerful features of Cumulocity. I can't do a complete grand tour with everything which is possible. But I think this way to create dashboards very, very quickly also allows you to do those quick iterations that Philip was referring to in terms of developing IoT-based solutions very quickly. Now, I'm going to go back to Grail because there's a few more tricks we can do there. So one of the things obviously is that now when readings get too high or the value is permanently over a certain limit, we want to make sure there's some action, that the guys in the office management part are alerted that things are not exactly going as they should. So one of the things that we can do is could post this data on a regular basis to an office management application, or simply when the value is over a certain level, we could then decide to alert office management straight away. Now that's all really, really easy to do. So in the end, what we're going to do, well, let's just take a very simple example. We're going to send out an email. It could have been a text message, or it could have been an HTTP post with a REST call to the office management system. It doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. So the only thing we need to do is really connect these two up. And this would actually implement the sending of sorry, I've missed one step. Of course, I need to look at what's happening in this data. So there is a node here that slightly odd name called excursion, which I would need to connect up in this way. In this excursion, I can define that anything over 3 always triggers an alert, and if for 3600, I believe it's seconds, it would be, so for all this time, more than 2.5, I also get an alert. So that's the difference between the hard and the soft max that we define. And now we've actually completed the whole logic to implement an alert mechanism to, well, we can define exactly who needs to get that email, but that's really a matter of just typing it in and getting it all done. Obviously, this is some very, very basic real-time analytics that we are doing now in Grail. Obviously, Cumulocity has a very, very powerful and much more generic real-time analytics engine that allows us to do much more complex kind of logic inside the Cumulocity platform straight away in a clean way. And that's also the place where all the historic data from all sensor readings are kept. So this is kind of, no, I don't want to say quick and dirty, but the easy way to do some very basic stuff. More powerful features are available on the Cumulocity platform. That concludes my demonstration. So back to Philip.
Great, thanks, Rob. So I think one of the most powerful things for me of this demo is that initially when we started, it seemed to be almost a technical demo. However, by going through the case, so using, I know, just configuring Sigfox to get the data in, just configuring Grail to get the data through and actually analyzing the data, moving it as almost as a server-side agent into Cumulocity, using Cumulocity to actually visualize it, and then using Grail to actually extend it out to external applications. You can start to see the value generated. So as Rob indicated, some of these CO2 values are quite high for certain rooms without heavy ventilation. So you can start to see how some of these cases actually work, and then work out what's the business value. So obviously, if this was deployed in a commercial situation, you could deploy very cheap sensors in these rooms to work out what's actually happening, maybe on a temporary basis, maybe on a more permanent basis, but also look at actually how you change the business process. So for a meeting room, maybe you limit the number of people to a certain size, and then you kind of have a rule or a policy to actually allow more ventilation or something if anything else happens. But I think it provides a very, very useful case of kind of the business benefits. So if I take back the presenter roles, so now I'd actually like to open up the webinar to questions from our audience via the chat. So we have a chat dialogue. So please click the sort of speech button and put any sort of questions in, and then we'll spend a couple of minutes to answer those that come sort of straight through, and answer your immediate questions. So whilst we're waiting for questions to come through, I know I saw in the news recently, Rob, that Tata Communications has taken an interest in Teleena. And I know you kind of raised it before. So does this? How does this affect Teleena?
Yeah, it's not just Tata Communications having taken an interest in the company, but we've also concluded a strategic partnership deal, which essentially helps Tata to put all these kind of solutions into the market on a worldwide scale. So we're really, really excited. We suddenly have increased the company capacity with 500 more salespeople all over the world, and speaking to enterprise customers with these kind of propositions. So we are really, really excited about the prospects of this new partnership. Great.
And also, I know from my history in the past, I've kind of been aware of Teleena for some time as a mobile virtual network enabler. So how is this service kind of enabling your current services to grow?
Yeah, it's almost been a natural evolution from, let's say, traditional mobile virtual network enabling kind of business. We have seen over the last 3-4 years really the rise of what we call the enterprise MVNO. So there were MVNOs were typically just retail kind of propositions, but now enterprises have taken a grip because the whole line of business has become so important, and the connectivity to all those remote workers, devices, and all their other assets, their partners, is all running through mobile networks. So larger enterprises have really become aware of the fact that it's not just as simple as going to get a SIM card from your local provider. It takes a lot more, especially when you have anything of a global footprint or a multinational footprint. There are a lot of different options for how to set the whole thing up. And for that reason, a lot of enterprises have started to become a kind of enterprise MVNO. So that's also given us the opportunity to kind of gradually move into this IoT domain in a way that really supports the enterprises.
Great. So one question we just got, Rob. I think this is probably for both of us. So why is the partnership between Teleena and Cumulocity good? From a Cumulocity perspective, first and foremost, Cumulocity is a white label IoT provider. So we're very keen to enable service providers of different sorts to deliver IoT solutions to their own customers. So I think with Cumulocity and Teleena, from a Cumulocity perspective, allowing Teleena to kind of embolden their current connectivity offering with different solutions and actually bring those together, as you have seen with Grail, with Connect, and with Bill. I think it's actually quite a good solution to allow like a fuller package for the end customer, the end enterprise. Maybe Rob, you want to add some more?
No, I really couldn't have said it any better, Philip. Was exactly what this whole thing is about. So for us, Cumulocity is a very important component of our IoT suite. But we have a few other components in the suite, and that makes a bigger whole than doing Cumulocity only. But we need the depth and the expertise of Cumulocity in building and maintaining the actual platform that allows us to build these kind of solutions quickly. So that's, we think, a very, very good partnership. Great.
So I see we're kind of getting close on time, and there's not that many other questions coming through at this moment of time. So I send through on the next slide. We sort of send through our email details. So if you have any more questions, please feel free to send those through. So lastly, I think both Rob and myself would like to thank you for your attention during the session today. So please use the details shown here to actually either contact Rob or myself for any other additional sort of queries, concerns, or updates, or more information about the particular products we've actually talked about, or even the concepts we've talked about. We'll send you a link to the online video shortly, so this should be out by tomorrow. And we'd like to sort of thank you once again, and wish you a great day, or the rest of your day. So thanks a lot for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.